I mean, think about it. We use energy for absolutely everything.
Everything.
The phone in your hand, the heat in your home, the power grids for whole cities. It all runs on these huge, complex systems.
Right. But if you trace all of that back, way, way back.
Before electricity, before fossil
Well,
fuels,
and on the one thing that started it all for us.
the single most fundamental source of energy that launched human civilization. Today, we're diving into the story of fire.
It's wild to think about, isn't it? Something we use for a barbecue or a campfire was, well, it was the biggest technological leap in history.
We take it so for granted.
It wasn't just a convenience, it was the key to survival. It changed their diet, their bodies, where they could live, and eventually it became the engine for the entire industrial world.
And that relationship, it started with absolute terror.
Oh, completely. They didn't start by making fire.
No, they were terrified of it. They would have only seen it in these huge, uncontrollable events, right?
Exactly. A forest fire from a lightning strike or, lava from a volcano. It was just this destructive, unpredictable force.
So what was that first step from fear to, well, to control?
It took a long, long time, generations, maybe hundreds of thousands of years to get over that instinctual fear. They watched, they saw the destruction, but then they noticed what was left behind.
The embers.
The glowing embers. And they realized they could keep that warmth going. So the first big step wasn't ignition, it was preservation.
And I can't imagine how hard that must have been. I mean, it's not like just throwing another log on the fire.
No, it was a constant high-stakes job. They had to feed these little embers with dry leaves, tiny twigs, just enough to keep them alive.
Too much and it flares up.
Too little and it's gone. Then they figured out how to move it. They'd carry a smoking branch or a bundle of burning material to a safer place, like a cave.
Which means protecting that fire became the most important task for the whole community, if you lose it.
You're back in the cold, in the dark, total vulnerability. And they lived like that for millennia, just preserving fire from natural sources.
Until they finally figured out how to make it themselves, on demand.
And that, right there, was true freedom.
Okay, so let's get into those first methods. I know we hear about rubbing two sticks together. The friction method.
Yeah, and it is brutally difficult. You need the right kind of wood. It has to be perfectly dry, and you need just incredible stamina to get enough heat for a spark.
Any other way?
The striking method. This was even more clever in a way. It required knowing your minerals.
Right. You need specific kinds of rocks.
Exactly. They learned that if you strike a hard rock like flint against a piece of iron pyrite.
Fool's gold.
Fool's gold, yeah. It creates the shower of really hot sparks. And if you have a little nest of dry grass or fungus ready, poof, you have fire.
And once they mastered that, the whole world opened up. They weren't tied to a lightning strike anymore.
They could move, they could plan migrations, they could carry the potential for fire with them. That's the real breakthrough.
So let's talk about the immediate impact of that. The most obvious one has to be warmth.
For sure. And that has huge geographic implications. Before fire, humans were pretty much stuck in tropical or subtropical areas.
Because anywhere else, you'd just freeze. Your body would use all its energy just trying not to die from the cold.
Right. But with a campfire, you can survive winters where it drops below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. You can turn a cold, damp cave into a home.
You're essentially creating your own microclimate.
We basically outsourced our metabolism. We didn't need to evolve thick fur. We just engineered warmth. And that thermal security is what let humans spread across the entire planet.
And with that warmth came safety.
A huge amount of safety.
I mean, imagine being a small group trying to sleep at night with things like cave bears or saber-toothed cats around.
The fear would have been constant. But fire is this powerful shield. Most predators are instinctively terrified of flames, the flickering light, the smoke.
It creates a protective circle.
It let them sleep soundly, probably for the first time ever. And they even used it on offense, right?
Yeah, hunters would use torches to steer herds of animals.
To drive them into a trap, like a ravine or off a cliff, it made hunting so much more efficient.
Beyond safety, fire just completely changed the clock.
It really did. Before fire, your day ended when the sun went down, period.
But with artificial light, you've suddenly doubled your productive hours.
Suddenly you can work on tools after dark, you can go deep into caves to paint.
Which is where we see all that amazing cave art.
Exactly. And maybe most importantly, it let people socialize. The time after sunset became for community.
Sharing stories, passing on knowledge.
It's where culture is born, really, around that shared flame.
And they even improved on that technology, right? It wasn't just campfires.
No, later on they figured out you could make little lamps out of hollowed out stone, use animal fat for fuel, and a plant fiber for a wick. A portable, controllable light.
But if we're talking about the single biggest impact,
Mm-hmm.
the one that fundamentally changed us as a species.
It has to be cooking.
Right. Many scientists say mastering cooking is what truly made us human.
It's all about energy. Raw food, especially meat and tough plants, is incredibly hard for our bodies to process.
You spend a ton of energy just chewing and digesting.
Precisely. Cooking is like pre-digestion. The heat does all the hard work for you. It breaks down fibers. It makes proteins easier to absorb.
So your body gets way more calories from the same amount of food.
A huge energy surplus. And what did we do with all those extra calories?
They went straight to our brains.
Exactly. The rapid growth of the human brain is directly linked to the point where we started eating cooked food. It also meant we could evolve smaller jaws, smaller teeth, a shorter gut. Fire literally reshaped our bodies.
That's incredible.
I
It
know.
didn't just keep us warm, it made us smarter.
And it also made mealtime a central social event. Sharing cooked food really strengthens community bonds.
Beyond food, fire also became a serious manufacturing tool. This is like the very beginning of engineering.
Oh, absolutely. Long before metal.
So what's a good example of that?
A simple wooden spear. If you carefully heat the tip in a fire, just charring it a little,
It hardens the wood.
it makes the wood fibers denser, harder, and much less likely to break on impact. It's a simple trick that gives you a huge advantage in a hunt.
And then there's a huge leap with ceramics.
Right, which requires much hotter, more controlled fire. But if you can bake soft clay at a high enough temperature, it turns into a hard, waterproof container.
A pot, a bowl.
And that is revolutionary. Now you can store water, you can store grain through a long winter. That ability to save resources is what allows for permanent settlements and eventually agriculture.
I also read it was used for large-scale construction in a way.
That's right. To break up massive boulders, they'd build a huge fire right up against the rock
Get it super hot.
and then splash it with cold water. That thermal shock would crack the stone, making it way easier to quarry for building materials.
But all of that is just a prelude to the ultimate application.
Metallurgy.
When we figured out how to make fires hot enough to melt metal out of rock,
A process called smelting. And this is what officially ends the Stone Age. The first metals they worked with were copper and tin. Combine them, and you get bronze, which is much stronger.
the Bronze Age.
And to get to the next level, the Iron Age, you needed fires that were unbelievably hot, over 1,500 degrees Celsius. That took specialized furnaces, bellows to force air in.
It was a whole new level of fire management.
But the result was worth it. Iron tools are just better. They were stronger than bronze. You could sharpen them more easily. They didn't shatter like stone. Mastery of fire became the foundation of power.
And that whole technological line from a campfire to a furnace leads directly to the biggest change in modern history.
The Industrial Revolution.
Suddenly, fire isn't just for a tool or a meal, it's the engine for the whole world.
We switched fuels to coal and used it to boil water and create massive amounts of high-pressure steam.
And that steam powered everything. Giant machines and factories making goods faster and cheaper than ever.
And transportation. The steam locomotive changed everything.
You could cross continents in days, not months. Steamships replaced sailing ships. The world got smaller, all because of fire.
This whole explosion of progress was driven by burning fossil fuels. It built the cities we live in and created the modern global economy.
And we're still completely reliant on it, even if we don't see the flames.
I mean, think about your car. An internal combustion engine. That's just a series of tiny, controlled explosions of fuel.
So it's literally powered by fire.
It is. The natural gas that heats your home, the power plant that generates your electricity, it almost all comes back to a controlled burn somewhere.
It's still essential for almost all heavy industry, too. Making glass, making cement.
But that power means it's still dangerous. We spend so much time and energy on fire safety, on technology to put out unwanted fires, because we know what it can do if it gets out of control.
A powerful servant, but a terrible master.
You know, from that first scared hominid looking at a burning tree to the engine of a starship, fire is the defining technology of our story. It didn't just help us survive, it made us evolve, it grew our brains, and it gave us the power to build this entire world.
Every piece of metal or glass you touch, every warm meal you eat, even the way your brain is wired, it all traces back to that first flickering ember someone decided to keep alive. Now that you know its history, think about what energy source might transform our species next. See you next time.